Hello, you lovely lot. It is great to be back with you once again. It feels like as if it's been ages. I suppose maybe it has been ages. Uh, like let's just click this forward and then I'll be back with you in a second. Yes, here I am. I hope you can all hear me, etc., and see me, of course. Never seems to matter how much I try to clear my throat, it always clogs up at some point. It could be fairly quiet in here tonight because there's an awful lot going on, and I'll get to it in a moment. I'll say hello to everybody that's in here first, and then I'll get back to that. Whiskey Works Graham in early doors as usual. Cheers, Graham. North Coast Drummer Tony, how are you, my friend? Whiskey with Molly Ben, good to see you, buddy. It was all the Northern Irish people in it first. Whiskey Straight Al in there as well, and then Greg made it a little more international. Greg, good evening, buddy. Menno's in as well from Belgium. Menno, how are you? And I seen sneaking in there, Pete Head Frank. Frank is driving home from work, I believe. So as I said, it may be a little quieter because I knew Frank had already told me he mightn't be able to make it in. Mark Slinger is in. Connor Smith, nice to see you, mate. Matthew Edgeworth. Matthew, good to see you, buddy. I finally caught up with Matthew last week when he landed into the shop to say hello. So we'll get back to that later. David Owen. David, good to see you. And Simon Ridge, hello. So that's a few. Right, first thing I'm going to do, let's get some whiskies on the go because I need a wee dram. And I'm going to change things a bit. Now, this isn't... How do I describe this? Right. The first thing that I was sort of going to talk about, or the first thing I'll mention, and we'll maybe mention it, leave it, and come back to it later, was that we had a bit of a meet-up last month. Now it is July, and it was my good friend Richard Agnew, good friend to us, not ex-Northern Ireland, well, I say ex-Northern Ireland man, still a Northern Ireland man, but now living in Canada, came home to visit his parents and called in. And we went out and we had a few. But he had told me, Richard had told me long ago that he was getting me some samples, and he did the same for Whiskey Straight Al, who's in here. So he came back with samples, but I thought a few samples. Now, in fairness, he did tell me he was listing what he had. This was box one, right? So that's box one. There's another box like that. So rather than just, and I love the way he's presented these, etc. So rather than just blinding these out and blanking them out the same way as I do with the rest and putting them into my box, Jim's box, we will see in a minute, I sort of felt a bit guilty. So what I'm going to do is, going forward, my first pick, I think going forward in these lives for a while anyway, is going to be out of one of Richard's sample boxes. And I know what most of them, I know what they are. I haven't blanked them out, so I'll be able to read what's on the label. But more just the fact that I want to get into them for Richard's sake. So let's just pick one out random, and it is just random here. I know that most of these are Shelter Point and etc. Yeah, this is Shelter Point single cask peat. So this will be my first one, 57.2%. And it's edition 7 for anybody who is into the Shelter Point. I don't know, there's a few of you are into your Shelter Point. I'm still here, going to dip quickly back into the chat because there's a few people come in. Who did I see in? Hellswed's in, Helen and Andy probably in. How are you folks? Des is in. Des, good to see you. Craig Blair. Craig, another guy that I met for the other day. People are starting to come into the shop and say hello, and it's brilliant. So Craig's jumping in live. So Craig, it was an honor, a pleasure to meet you the other day, and thank you for joining us. I'm sure there was others come in. Maybe not. So that was the first. So I'll get a bit of that poured now, actually, and at least it'll be in the glass then. So that's a Shelter Point single cask peat, 57.2% ABV. Edition 7. John McAllister is in. Yeah, Greg's saying cool, I managed to get some shelter point. There's a lot of them here, Greg. He has given me a hell of a lot. I'll see what else I'm pouring, and I'll give them a quick nose, because that's peated, and I know it'll probably only be, I even just give it a quick nose there. It's only slightly peated, but I still might shift that one back. So, right, anybody that's new, shouldn't be anybody that new to me, Jim's little box. So I just want to get some samples on the go first. This one here has been hanging around a while. Let's pick out one of them. I don't like those balls, but it's just a ball, isn't it? And this one. Anyway, right. So that's tonight's samples. Set that over there and get these in the glass. Try and get them in the glass without pouring them everywhere. Drew from AZ is in. Drew, how are you, my friend? And I will get to you later as well. See, here's the problem with these. See this? There's a special way of opening these. Like that. Good for the old Nashers there. So we'll get that into the glass. You know what? It's all going into the glass for what there was. So this is anybody that's new. I don't think any of you are. I think you have all been here before, but I'm just gonna. What I do is I blank out the labels so you don't see what they are. This is the two I picked tonight. I don't know what they are, and then when the time comes, I will try and do a little bit of a. I'll do a little tasting, a little sampling, try and figure out, roughly what they are. I mean, you know, it will roughly be what they are. Once I figured out what they are, the bottles will be going in the bin. I appreciate people sending me. Of course, I appreciate people sending me samples. I don't like those little plastic balls. Right, that doesn't smell peated, and that smells. That does smell somewhat peated, and as a matter of fact, I think it smells somewhat more peated. Ooh. Now that's interesting. This was the one. Yeah, that's that one. Damn near confused myself already. That's that one. That's the shelter point in the middle. So I'll get the shelter point at the end. I'm going to go with that one first. This was this silly little one. Papa Q's in from Nebraska. Papa Q. Papa Q's a patron of mine, but I can't remember his real name off the top of my head. Before I go any further, sorry, the other thing that I want to mention, and Bill Monteith's in as well. How are you, Bill? I also received these recently from a good friend, Graham. Whiskey Works Graham in here, and Graham does some prints and things. So if you want anything like this, reach out to Graham. Graham gifted these to me and very much appreciate it. I haven't got around to framing them yet, Graham, but I will. Kilkerran, always lovely. Springbank 12, brilliant, love it. And this is one from the shop, the friend at hand, the Fighting Irish. Thank you very much, Graham. Very much appreciate it, my friend. And as I say, they will be framed and put on the wall of this office is where they'll go. There you go. Right, what's been happening? Well, I'm going to nose at this. Right, so let's see. Well, I'll get on. Actually, whenever I start onto the shelter point, then I'll get into the meet up we had last month. Suppose since that you will notice the glasses maybe. There we are. Anybody that wants to guess where these glasses came from? It's not hard to guess. They came from Waterford Distillery. So I was down in Waterford 3 weeks ago now, something like that. Down south, went down south. As we say in the north, I went down south for a bit of a break with some family. And the first distillery, I only hit a couple of distilleries, but the first distillery I hit was Waterford. And as I understood it, myself and my father-in-law were taking part in the tour. and I thought it would be typical of most tours in that it would be groups of people, a group of people going around the distillery. But what I didn't realize was it was just me and him, and we got taken on a tour of the old Guinness brewery, because what Waterford is now was an old Guinness brewery, by, I can't remember his name. He took us on the tour of the old brewery, and it was good. It was nice. It was because it was actually nice to see. It was quite informal, and it wasn't a lot of this stuff. It's just a bit. Well, I'll explain that in a minute whenever I get to where I went next. So then, after we'd finished touring the old distillery, Paul, I don't think it's McCloskey, I can't remember his second name, who is the distillery manager, Waterford distillery manager, then took us on a tour of what is technically the new distillery. A lot of it, yet again, was left behind by Guinness, but Waterford themselves then have changed it up, moved it around a little to suit themselves. So he did that. Then Paul phoned Ned, the head blender, to ask Ned if he would do a tasting with myself and my father-in-law. I thought this was brilliant because I'd seen videos. I'm sure most of us have seen videos of with Ned and them, the head blender, Ned Gann, and I thought this was great. That I was actually going to get a chance to meet this guy, because he seemed quite a character, and quite a character he is. And he then had 3 of their whiskies poured. It was one of the cuvées. I can't remember which cuvée it was. A single blend or a single malt, sorry, and one of, what was the other one? Oh, it was the organic. It was the other one. A few other people have come in. Sorry, Jeff Whiskey, I seen popping in. Whiskey Lovers Society. Kurt, good to see you, buddy. And so, yes, so Ned took us, tasted these, and they were good. They weren't bad. And then he started to chat about their upcoming peated, one of their peated expressions, which was coming. And he took us, and I was interested. Of course, I was interested. And he said, "Do you want to try it?" And I said, "Of course, I want to try it." So he took me over to the blending room. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen videos. I know the Whiskey Tribe did one with him. I think that actually the Scotch Test Tommies did one with him in the same tasting room. And he let me try. There's 2 peated coming. He let me try samples of this. He let me try samples of that, and he just kept pouring me stuff, and it was incredible. It just felt outstanding to be in this room, but then to be trying samples of stuff that I'd never tried. With them back over, and I wanted to buy a bottle, and I was buying. I actually decided to. I sort of wanted to try this summer's picnic, the micro cuvee, and he says, "Well, hold on," and he pulled out a bottle of it, let me try it, and then I decided there and then that's what I wanted. So generous to a fault, couldn't fault him there, and he made a bit of a believer out of me. I'm not going to say anything more about it for the simple fact that review coming soon of that bottle. So I'll not say anything more about that. But a hell of a tour. I'm going to get into this whiskey, and then I'll tell you what happened next. This is sort of fruity. It's sort of generic. It's sort of Highland. It's natural coloured, in my opinion. It is 46 to 50%, 50% maybe, but not much more than 50%, in my opinion. On the nose. This is all the nose. Quite generic, quite fruity. Would I suggest young? Yes. Youngish, new, maybe. In that maybe new distillery. Now, this, I haven't warmed up my palate. I never really get a chance because I'm quite busy this weather. Work doesn't finish until 6 o'clock, and then it's getting home, getting dinner, etc. So it's all a bit of a rush in the evenings. But I don't mind. So I haven't got a chance to warm up the palate. This is the first one. Cheers. Yeah, quite young, quite generic. Yeah, I'm going to say young. I'm going to say generic. I mean, sort of like a. I don't mean to put it down by saying generic Highland, but it's got that. Or, well, I'm saying Highland. It could even be Lowland. It's, yeah, I said 46 to 50. I would actually say maybe 50 now. Around 50 to 55. It's not that strong. Quite a nice finish, but wouldn't blow me away. I'm going to add a little water to it, let it settle, and tell you where we went from there. We went to Waterford, not Waterford, been in Waterford. Catch up, Jim. We went to Middleton. Now, Middleton Distillery Tour is the old distillery, which they stopped using in. I'm sure somebody can tell me. And now they're in the new distillery at the other end of the town. So we went up there and did that, and it's not a journey of discovery for me around Middleton. It's so when I was saying previously there about starting in Waterford around the old part of the old Guinness brewery, and it's look at the old copper, look at the old, but it's preserved is the way I would put it. It's been preserved and preserved well, in that the cobwebs are hanging off it, the verdigris on the copper. It just looks old. It smells dank. I loved it. The old machinery's still there. The old mill's still there. So when we moved on to Middleton then, which is the old distillery, but it's polished, and it's polished for tourists, and they're not telling us anything that we don't already know. There's nobody in this room, not a sinner, that doesn't know what they're telling you at Middleton, and it's all, but you can almost hear the surprise in the tourist's voice, oh, when they exclaim, oh, didn't know that. And it's just like, you didn't know it had to stay in 3 years before it was whiskey. Well, and of course the thing is, everybody has to start somewhere, and we all know that as well. And this is what, it's not me being a whiskey snob, it's not, but we've been around long enough, and then you get to the end of that tour, and they give you 3 whiskies. They give you Jameson Standard. They give you Johnny Walker Black Label, and they give you Jack Daniels. Now, Middleton Distillery, as we all know, are capable of incredible things. So technically what I was on was the Jameson experience. Greg says there's no upgrade. Yes, there would be an upgraded nerdy tour. I'm sure there was, but they charge you for it ridiculously. And what are we going to learn that we didn't already know on that? So as I say, they give you these samples then. It's standard Jameson, a Johnny Walker Black, and I think the idea is that the Jameson's supposed to be the outstanding whiskey of these 3. And I'm tasting them going, well, actually, no, I'd take the Johnny Walker Black. Probably. As a matter of fact, there's cases that would take the Jack. If you've got a Coke, they'll take the Jack Daniels and Coke, and the Jamesons can wait. And then you get to when you get back into the shop, they give you a Jamesons and ginger, or Jamesons and water. So it's just, it's poor. It was poor in my opinion, but I can understand why it's there. This is coming to life. This dram is so much fresher and cleaner and sweeter. And that fruit has come to life, lychee, peach. But so that's I'd heard ones telling me this in the past about that Jameson experience, that's what they do. Basically, they're putting out what they are considering rubbish Scotch. Like Johnny Walker Black, as I said, I would take over a standard Jameson. So, it's just, to me, it just feels dirty. on Middleton's behalf, especially whenever they're capable. And as somebody said, well, it's probably on Pernod Ricard's behalf. They're capable of so much better. Yeah, no, that's came to life a bit. It's still a bit not for me. It's still a bit. Because the nose has really come to life, but now the palate has gone a bit savoury and bland. I don't mind savoury, but it's gone a bit bland. I'm actually pulling it by. I said about thinking whenever it was neat that was 50, maybe 50 plus, but I'll go back to what I said before, about 46 to 50%. Still think it's Highland, Lowland. But I'll think about that more. So yeah, that's what happened there. If you were asking me would I recommend it, no. Craig Blair, who was in here, was asking. Say Craig popped into the shop and was asking me about the Middleton thing. He says, "Did I get any?" He was wondering if I had planned anything ahead that had got me special privileges. No, and as I said to Craig, I think it was just pure fluke. I don't know whether there was anything more about whether. I don't know. I think it was just pure fluke that they gave me the tour they gave me. Maybe who was there that day, who wasn't there that day. Somebody's saying about this, maybe Auchentoshan. Bill's saying maybe Auchentoshan. Possibly. But I think it's better than Auchentoshan. Whatever it is. Slightly herbal. Definitely don't think it's island or Speyside. It just feels very Highlandy to me. Don't know. I'm gonna actually get into this label in a moment and see what that is. So no, not for me, Jameson's. So what else have I been up to? Well, I've been busy. Craig says he's going to tell him he knows me. I don't know whether that would get you anywhere. Yes, so I started work in the new job in the shop, and it's been busy. It's been great. It's been incredible talking whiskey to people. I'm sure I have bored some people already. As I mentioned earlier on, Matthew Edgeworth popped in to see me. It was great to meet Matthew. Craig has popped in. There'll be others. I know there will, but it's just great to meet people and talk about whiskey, like-minded people. It's great to educate some people, and I don't mean to sound cheeky or cocky or smart whenever I say that, but when I had a guy come in, a local, well, I'll say local guy, Northern Irish guy, come in one day last week and tell me that Bushmills were getting their spirit from America. As I said, I didn't mean to sound cheeky whenever I said, no, mate, they don't. And he said, no, I was on the tour. They told me that the spirit came from America. No, they don't, mate. No. He says, their casks come from America. Maybe that's what you got wrong. No, I knew their casks. But anyway, so I'm not going. He bought a bottle of something. I can't remember what it was. Gee, Spence. There you are. You got talking to me in the shop this week. Found the channel. Well, gee, Spence, I'm sure we did. And listen, thank you for joining me. Let's get into this one and see what it is. Right. Natural color, yes. Non-chill filtered then, probably, because I'm going to say 46 to 50%. Highland or Lowland, possibly. Young, I think. Slightly savoury, slightly. There's something, I'm getting something there which doesn't sit terribly well. Not quite sure what it was. Al says I must come in someday incognito. That I would love to see you try, Al. You being incognito. Menno says, just connect to the CCTV. I know that would probably actually be the easiest way to do it. Menno, just connect up to the CCTV and you can watch me and listen to me. I'm really, one thing that I have realized is, and I thought about something on the way into work today while I was driving into work. I thought, I'm going to have to brush up on my languages a little, if only just to learn more hellos, goodbyes, thank yous, etc. Because I'm not terribly. As a matter of fact, English is a bit of a struggle with me, as most of you know. So, right, let's see what this is. 46 to 50%, natural coloured, non-chill filtered, Highland or Lowland, probably. Here we go. Oh, Lindors, there you are. I did say new, young. So it's the Lindors, and I think it was, who is it that sends me? Luna's in. Luna, how are you, dear? Who is it that sends me the dear? That sounded terribly condescending. Hello, Luna. Nice to see you. I didn't mean it like that, you know what I mean? Alan McLaughlin, I think it was, that sent me these. So, Lee J. Brown's in as well. Good evening, mate. So this was the Lindors. Is that 2015, I imagine, or 2014? Who can read Roman numerals? MCDXC 1CIV, 46%. I'll take that. I did say new. I did say Highland Lindors. Lindors is Highland, isn't it? Isn't it? I haven't actually tried any of theirs yet. I haven't tried any yet. So that's the first I've tried. And as I said, once again, young, generic. Bill wants to hear my konnichiwa. I actually did try to learn Japanese at one point, and no, it wasn't. I stopped very, very soon. So showcases Greg said showcases the 1494 foundation of the initial distillery. Well, there you are. Thank you for that, Greg. I don't, because I wasn't really focusing. Yeah, and Ben's, it's the 1494 was their inaugural release, so that was their first release. So yeah, and they are Highland, correct? Yeah. Or are they Lowland? I just can't remember, as I said, and I hadn't looked into their bottlings. Lowland. Well, there you are. I am very, very pleased with that call then. I said 46% all natural, Highland or Lowland. There. I will claim that one. I just had David Honk. David Honk, you are a new name to me. Finally able to catch you in the live stream. Thank you from New York City. David, thank you very much, my friend, for adding to the bottle fund. That'll go probably toward the brain is frozen there. The Glasgow Whisky Festival. Everything's getting thrown in toward the Glasgow Whisky Festival. There you are. Yes, that is a good way to start. Right, so we're going to move on now to, at the start I said about Shelter Point. So this is my friend Richard New. Shelter Point single cask. Now, if you've just popped in, or if you're just and wondering why I haven't done this one blind, it's because Richard, whenever he was over in July, gave me a mountain of samples, 2 boxes full of samples, and I'm going to add one in now for every live stream. So the reason why I'm doing this one second rather than third is because it's a Shelter Point peat, Shelter Point single cask peat, edition 7, bottle of 52.2 57.2%. So I'm going to just, rather than making his blind, well, technically they're sort of blind because I was picking it out of the box just at random. But ooh, that was not what I expected. When I poured that at first, it instantly seemed a bit bland, but it's far from bland. Graham, this is a good time to use these because you could probably, I don't know if you can see on that, but the legs on this are incredible. It is sticking, like we say here in Northern Ireland, like shit to a blanket. Oh, and Greg's saying that you got to give it time, and I know that anyway, Greg, but it was just, as I say, it did not expect, and this, it doesn't actually smell peated. It just smells big and unctuous and chewy. Even slightly sherried. I don't know what the full maturation is on this, but that's good. Good in the nose. I think I'd had one shelter point up to this point, and I can't remember what even it was, but this is big. Ooh, oh, well, that's weird, but good weird. I know Greg had a few experiences. I know you like your shelter point. Mm, mm, and dry. I like. I do like that. Mm. Whiskey straight. I'll be interested in seeing or hearing your thoughts on these because I imagine that I know, as I said earlier on, he brought Al over 2 boxes of samples as well. I imagine he's brought him the same stuff. I should have actually keyed this up, Al, but then I didn't know what I was picking. But next time, next month, I'll give you a shout and we'll see if we can marry up on what we're picking out. Luna's asking a single it's a single, it's a single malt, single cask. I take it it's a single malt. What, it's not a blend anyway, so that is good. That is good. Dry. It does go dry. Very almost oaty. Of course, Luna's saying, yeah, Luna, I apologize. Actually, you're right. It could easily be rye. And because I'm picking these out randomly, I don't know and actually that is actually quite reminiscent of a rye now that you mention it. And a good one at that. Somebody want to do their homework for me and see if they can tell me what this is. To say Shelter Point single cask peat edition 7, 57.2%. Drew's asking if any occasion to try any art. No, I haven't actually sampled any. No, I tell a lie. I actually had the representative from Bushmills in last week with this year's Causeway collection. Greg saying, does it say Smoke Point? No, it just says Shelter Point. It just says Shelter Point single cask peat. Edition 7. Aye, so the representative from Bushmills was in last week. So I was trying this year's Causeway collection, one of which is a 2012 finished in Pomerol casks, and the other one is a 2002 finished in vermouth casks, both cask strength, non-chill filtered, no color added. There's also, this is the Irish releases. There's also a UK release, which I think they're running out of quicker, but I'm hoping that we will get some of them into the shop. Can't remember what the full spec was, whether it was a finish import or whether it was full maturation import. Yet again, it's what age were they? Can't remember what age it was, but it was really good. So Ben's saying, Whiskey with Molly, Ben's saying, if it's one I found online, it's a blend of ex-bourbon and Lefroy quarter casks. And is it, Ben, is it single malt or rye, do we think? It's very good. I think it's taken that high ABV to give it the oomph that it's got. Because I think if it was watered down much, Ben reckons it's malt. If it was watered down by much, it definitely wouldn't be as unctuous as it is. 100% single malt. It is lovely. Connor Smith saying, I caught my interest with Bushmills Port. Yeah, he says he loves the 2020 Rowan Co. I sell quite a lot of that Rowan Co. 13-year-old because people that are coming into the whiskey shop have never really heard of it. Now I've learned recently that people don't know, and this always sounds really, I don't know what way to put it. You know what we're like. We chat to each other. We know whiskey. We know things about whiskey. We all know stuff about it. I mean, I'm sitting reviewing this stuff or sitting chatting about this stuff, and I couldn't remember where Lindors was. So there's stuff, but we know some stuff. Now I told you earlier on about the guy about talking about Bushmills, but I forget, or I don't realize sometimes how little people know then about whiskey. So they're coming in and they're asking, right, tell me, what can you tell me about Irish whiskey? What would you recommend? And I'll point them in directions. Generally, one of the first directions I'd point them in is the Redbreast is popular. Redbreast has always been popular. And hold on, sorry, Ben's firing stuff here, and it's blend 50% malt and wheat, and wow, single grain barley. We'll have to do a wee bit of homework on this one. So you get people coming in and asking about what do I, so they look at Redbreast 12-year-old. Sorry, I'm losing myself in the chat here, so I'm going to have to refocus. They're asking about Redbreast. What about Redbreast this, Redbreast that? Now, Redbreast 12, classic, like it, cask strength, love it. 15-year-old, not for me. And then you go up 21-year-old. Luna's just saying it here. The hugely expensive 21-year-old. That's hugely expensive. And we do in the shop, we have our own 18-year-old bottle. We call it the Young Pretender, bottle especially for the shop. It's £300 a bottle. So when they say Redbreast 12, the first thing I do is, and I'm sure a lot of you here will know what I'm going to say. I say Powers John's Lane, because as far as they're concerned, Redbreast 12 is the best thing in the world. And I'd say no, but Powers John's Lane in my opinion, it's better because it's 12 years old yet again, but it's non-chill filtered. I don't believe there's colour added. It's 46% as opposed to 40% of the Redbreast 12. So there's an awful lot of what's going on in the Redbreast, but just better. But people don't, and it's tucked away in a corner. It's our little secret that I'm telling everybody about. So there you go. And the other one then that I tell people about is the Roe & Co 13. It's 58%. It's 13 years old. It's Bushmills. I reckon it has to be Bushmills. It's old stock that I would nearly guarantee it's old stock that Roe & Co owned, fully matured in port casks. And it's like £55. And to me, that's, for cask strength, 13 years old for a start. I just think that's incredible. I just think that's incredible. So it's one that I'll always push. Sorry, somebody mentioned some. Menno mentioned Dingle. Dingle, I'm not seeing an awful lot of. I'm not hearing an awful lot about Dingle in where we sell Dingle. With pretty much the whole series of the single malts. Don't have any of their pot still, but I really like their pot still from what I've tried of it. This is lovely. This is lovely. Shelter Point, single cask peat. Graham Brown's in. How are you, Graham? Craig Blair tried the Redbreast 27 last year. It's awesome. Can't bring myself to spend the £500. No, that'd be the same. Well, we have it for £450. So, but it's the same as the old sherries and stuff whenever they come out. I couldn't justify paying that sort of money. I really couldn't. Right, I'm going to move on from the Shelter Point. But there's still quite a bit left in the bottle. So I'll go back to that at another point later on after you lot go home. So the shop, yes, loving it. Somebody else, that's what it was. I think somebody else asked a question. And that was, who mentioned the corks in the Roe & Co on the right. Yeah, Graham, the corks do not. There's something about those corks. I don't know what they've done. Greg, that's what it was. I knew I'd seen something. What's the proportion of customers who tend to choose their whiskies by fancy packaging rather than content? It is fairly high. Neil Laverty's in. How are you, mate? Good to see you, Neil. It's fairly high, but the thing is, I don't know whether... Oh, Paul Hugh David is a new name to me, but have you cracked the bottle of Lefroy from the weekend yet? It's Paul. Paul from the weekend. We'll get to you in a minute, Paul. So easy distracted. People choosing whiskey based on the packaging. Thank you, Greg. Yes, they do, and I steer them away from it. I'm probably not ideal for somebody to work in a whiskey shop because I do steer people away from. Now, I have already been warned about certain people. I'm not going to name any names, but certain people coming into the shop and sort of hovering around the shop and people saying, I want to buy a bottle of something. And said person saying, oh, you don't want to buy that. It's crap. Now, as the person that works in the shop, I'm going to say, I'm going to put that person out there and sell that. The person that wants to buy that can buy whatever the hell they want. It's their money. They're in the buy it. That's entirely up to them. If somebody comes in and says, I just want a bottle of Bushmills, standard Bushmills, I'm not going to tell them, pop down to the local supermarket, you'll get it for cheaper, for less. That's not my position. They're there to buy whiskey. As I said, it's their money. If that's what they want to do, that's what they can do. Greg said it must be hard. It can be, but I still can't in all honesty, sometimes keep my mouth shut. I had a group of Scottish people in today looking, they were going to buy a miniature pack of West Cork. There's about 5 West Corks in it. And the guy was Scottish. He didn't, he said he liked his whiskey, but he wasn't massively into it. He says, "What's this like?" I said, "It's garbage." And that was my very words. And he said, "Well, what would you recommend?" And I said, "Well, buy 5 miniatures." And he says, "Right, I like your honesty. Pick out 5." And he actually said, "Pick out 5 from me." And I actually made money on it. So I wasn't putting him off by telling him that the West Cork was, because it's just, some of it's just not great. So I was able to pick out 5 miniatures of, they maybe weren't great either, but I'll try and steer people in the right direction. That's basically the easiest way to do it. The easiest way to put it. I won't put people off. I'll try not to put people off, but I will also try, as I say, to steer people right. That's the way to do it. Frank is home. Frank, good evening. Glad you get home safe. So, my third whiskey of tonight is this one. Yet again, I'm going to say clear. So, I'm going to say that's natural. Presentation. Greg's asking to have a lot of money. We don't actually have a lot of minis, believe it or not. We don't sell a whole lot, but it's just, we sell enough, to keep us going. We sell enough to steer people in that direction. Sometimes because of the friend at hand, there's the friend at hand, which is bought only for the shop, can buy it only in the shop and nowhere else in the world, etc. I'm not doing the big sell on you here, but people tend to get drawn to that, and then it's a mini, and then they tend to buy maybe a couple other minis around it. I think I maybe got my order wrong with these tonight, because now that I'm actually nosing this again, it's actually quite sweet. And maybe a little, it's not unlike something Speyside, but rich and thick, something like Craigellachie or something like that. It's nice and sweet and thick on the nose. Slightly perfumed. Oh, and then so once again, natural, I believe so. I would say about 46%, maybe even 43, 46. Slightly chewy once again, slightly dirty. So when I said about Craigellachie, it's got that slight worm tubby feel about it. Not necessarily dirty, but I'll let that settle a minute. Daniel Vermaas is in. How are you, Daniel? So, right, shop going well. Thank you, and thank you all so much for the kind words. I had an awful lot of messages from people wishing me good luck, etc. So I can't thank you enough. And Richard Agnew is in from sunny Ontario. Richard, we were talking about you a while back. I hope you don't mind. I was trying your Shelter Point single cask peat, and it's very, very nice, my friend. I look forward to finishing that later on this evening. And weirdly, actually, now that I've moved on to this sweeter one, this more, as I said, slightly chewy Speyside feel, when I go back to that Shelter Point, it's really woody. It's even got a slight Dunwich smell about it. Very, very nice, Richard. I did enjoy that very much. Thank you, buddy. And you'll probably see, if you see the replay, Richard, that I'm just going to be dipping in to things from time to time from your boxes. Lee J. Brown saying, did you follow up on that? Lee J, I didn't. I forgot all about it, buddy. I've been so damn busy recently with holidays and touring and working, etc. But I must look back. I will look back, and I make notes of all these things, so it'll be written down somewhere. Yeah, that's nice, sweet. So what was next then, or what have we been up to most recently? Well, I'm sure as a lot of you seen on my socials, I was in Isla on Saturday. Damned unfortunate I wasn't able to hang around for a couple of days because there's still a lot of people on Isla as we speak that a lot of us would know, because today, or it's being celebrated today, is Ardbaggie's 60th bash. So I think the London Whisky Club are on Isla as we speak, celebrating Ardbaggie's 60th. So I've seen loads of people were going. Rolf's there. Who did I say? I was supposed to meet up with Jimmy Jazz, or I was hoping to meet up with Jimmy Jazz on Saturday, Jim Jensen, but it was just the logistics of it just didn't work out. Roy's there, Whiskey Rover, Jason's there. There's just people, as I say, it seems to be the London Whisky Club are all there at the moment. And I hope the hell they were having his bash in Ardbeg, as far as I know. I don't even know how that works out, because from memory, Ardbeg's closed on a Monday. Well, there's a good chance they opened it, especially for Andy, maybe. So, but yes, Isla. This was my first time on Isla, and I was noticing earlier on chat in the chat room. I mean, Menno saying he hadn't actually made it to Scotland yet at all, or something. I thought I seen something about that, but look, it comes to us all, whether we like it or not. But Isla, yes, it was. Yeah, it was class, and I mean, like, couldn't have asked for better weather. It would. It was roasting, and it just, yeah, the timing could not have been better. There was a group of guys from Ballycastle or thereabouts, which is where we sailed out. And one of them, I think, is in here. It must have been one of the guys, Paul, that's in here, because only he would have known what I bought, and we'll maybe have a wee guessing game. So I visited, and I just decided let's have a guessing game. So we arrived in Ardbeg at about just after 10 in the morning, and we thought we were supposed to be having a tour of Ardbeg, but it didn't happen. Now, that being said, it didn't need to happen. For one, it was too warm. The thought of walking about in still rooms, etc., in that heat just didn't appeal to us. Two, we were given a flight, 3 samples for like a tenner a head, which, considering their cheapest flight, I think, was £25 a head for 5 samples. But the girl in the shop says, look, I'm running short in glasses. There was 12 of us. And she says, look, I could do use a flight of 3 for a tenner a head if that suits. And it was like, yep, that suits us fine. Now, this was 10:15 in the morning. And the 3 that she gave us, fair play to her. Wee beastie, okay. New wee beastie. But anyway, the Ugadal, lovely. I do like the Ugadal. And the 19, the Ardbeg 19. So it was like, for a tenner for these 3 drams, I thought was incredible. What I didn't think was terribly incredible was the Ardbeg 19. I was not impressed at all, and I wouldn't spend what they're asking for it. But, you know, Ugadal, I would pay a tenner for a dram of Ugadal in a bar easily. So the fact that I got 3 drams for that price, happy days. Can't complain about that. We sat around Ardbeg for a while, chatted, beautiful. Didn't really want to leave it. But that made me realize something. Here in Ireland, they would nearly charge you for the air that you breathe around a distillery. Ardbeg, thought we were getting a tour, didn't, okay. But they pretty much said, just walk around. You know, feel free to walk around the grounds. All the doors were lying wide open. We were fit to walk into the still room. We were fit to walk in. The spirit safe was running away, so the place was in full production. And nobody said a dicky bird to us. We were able to just walk around the whole place, and we weren't, I mean, obviously we weren't going to touch or break anything, but it was just, I thought it was class. As I said, here they would nearly charge you for the air you breathe. So the fact that we could do all that without having had to pay for it, I thought was brilliant. Greg's saying first batch, the 19-year-old was like, I don't even know what batch this was, Greg, but to me, it was full bourbon maturation. All the peat had pretty much died in it. And the fact that it was all bourbon maturation, it just didn't have enough going on. So that was what was wrong with it for me. No tour guide. No, there was no tour guide. We just literally were able to just mill around the place and take in what we wanted. So yeah, I has job for 2 minutes and already trash talks to me. Yeah, all right. I think it was more than £200, and but fairness, man, it just did not do it for me at all. It did not, especially whenever you were backing it up with the Ugadal, which to me was just blowing it away. So yes, beautiful. Were you, Luna saying, were you able to hug some casks? You could have hugged whatever casks you wished, but there wasn't anything in them. They actually had virgin barrels sitting outside, still wrapped in their plastic. But as I say, beautiful, stunning, lovely looking place, and I would go back and do a tour. Now the other thing to remember is, and I know people will disagree with me here, I'm one of those people that at a certain time and a certain point, one distillery tour is the same as the next. What can they tell me? What can they show me that's going to change me? And I know there are those among you here who will think differently. They're all different, you know, and of course they're all different. But I mean, there's a certain part of, now Waterford proved me wrong, and I got an experience there. But I just sometimes I feel like as if, oh no, not another distillery. There are distilleries I desperately still want to tour. I still want to get over to Campbelltown and do the 3 distilleries there. But for the most part, especially when the heat was what it was outside in Ardbeg, the atmosphere was great among the people we had. We were able to just sit there and dram. We ate there. And we even, the beers in the cart. So we were having, we had a beer each, whatever. And then we decided, let's go. And all together, all of us, we all decided, these are people that I'd never met before. They'd never met me. I'd never met them. And we all got up together and we all left together and we just walked to Lagavulin. It's not that far to Lagavulin. Lagavulin, bit of a letdown for all of us. It just, I think the girl that worked in the bar had a wee bit of an attitude that put us off a wee bit. Beautiful looking place again, especially when the sun's out. But it just, somebody was a wee bit arsey in it. Menno, issue with Ardbeg, almost none of the limited releases are on par with the 3. And I actually agree with you totally, Menno. And this is why I won't buy them generally. So, Ardbeg, grabs drams in. You're never late. You're never late, buddy. So, on the Lagavulin. Lagavulin, as I say, all right. Just all right. Drink and all, the great wee bar and all of it, etc. So then, from then on to Lefroy. We walked on down to Lefroy. And Lefroy I just thought was beautiful. There was just something weirdly beautiful about Lefroy that I wasn't expecting. I don't know what it was, but it was just something about it. I don't think I could even put my finger on what it was. I think by that point it was just the atmosphere. Everybody was, I don't know, everybody was in good mood, and we just, so yet again, we didn't tour any of these. We just sauntered around, took a look in the shop, etc. And then on to Port Ellen, where we found the nearest bar with Guinness in my from my point of view, and just stayed there until the boat came to get us again. So, and this is the thing, and there's people saying about Lagavulin, and this is what, like, Helen's did it, G Spence did it, and they were doing tastings, etc. And that's the thing. That's it. There probably was a good tasting and all there. We just didn't do it. Yet again, the temperature was just getting too high. It was too hot. We'd walked too long. And all we wanted to do was sit down with a bottle of water and rehydrate. Whiskey wasn't going down terribly well. As you guys who have been to Lagavulin will know, they do flights, and affordable flights, really affordable flights. And how anybody was sitting down and drinking 3 whiskies or 4 whiskies was beyond me. I just couldn't. It was shocking. So then on the local bar, Greg's asking to get a chance to try Port Ellen, the local bar. No, Greg, we didn't. We didn't even ask. We didn't. By that point, as I say, whiskey was the last thing on our minds. We just wanted to have a beer and sit down and chat, and as I say, we did, and that's what made it. But just the whole day, for me, was just 100%. It was brilliant. Couldn't have been better. The atmosphere, as we talk about here, the crack, it was just because we had a great laugh with each other. Most of us had never, well, none of us had met before, as in them and us. And, but it was just, and like Greg said, it was too hot. It was too hot for whiskey. But it was like, as my wife described it, she felt like she'd been away for a week. She felt like she'd had a holiday in one day, in 8 hours. So that's something. That's some, I think, to be said for it. And we would do it again. Although that being said, I do want to go back and see more of the island. I do. So I did buy a bottle, and I don't think it's been mentioned yet. What I bought. So if anybody, I was in 3 distilleries and I bought 1 bottle, and I actually went with 1 bottle in mind, and I bought that 1 bottle. So you can have a guess for a moment while I sample this further and try and figure out what it is, because I've got off it. But it is tasty, sweet. I'm going to say it's a Speyside. There may be a hint of peat in there, maybe a hint. Luna's asking, Greg, you weren't hard to I'll just give it to Greg straight away there. Yeah, I went with the Lefroy Cargis in mind. That was the one I wanted, and that was the one I bought straight away. As soon as we got to Lefroy, that was the one I bought. And as Dee Spencer said, yeah, you get a small boat from Ballycastle, Luna, and it takes you straight to Ardbeg. So, and it's with 2 hours it takes. So, and Greg's saying we can't find the Cargis. Honestly, Greg, I struggled to see the Cargis anywhere, and that's why I knew that if they had it on sale at Lefroy, it was going to be the bottle I would buy. I looked at the Ardcore in Ardbeg, and I just thought, no, I can't be bothered. I could get it through as a committee member, I could get it if I wanted. Lagavulin, I looked at they have a distillery exclusive, but from gauging what else they had on sale, it's Diageo once again, and what Diageo were doing at the minute, everything was just overpriced in the shop. They had the usual Diageo fare that every Diageo distillery has, and everything was overpriced. So it was the Cargis I had in mind the whole day, that's what I wanted. And as soon as we walked through the door of Lefroy, there was a tray setting, and the lady said, have you tried our latest Cargis? And it was beautiful. I haven't opened the bottle yet. It's chewy, it's thick, it's unctuous, it's sweet, it's fully matured in ex-Maker's Mark casks. I like the fact that they put that on there, that they tell you it's not just ex-bourbon cask, it's Maker's Mark. I like Maker's Mark. I like a wheated bourbon, so it was just, so it was, yeah, couldn't have been better. Right, so what's in this glass? Fully natural, 46%, I believe. Something like Craigellachie. Maybe not Craigellachie, but something like Craigellachie. I think from the shape of this bottle, there's a good chance this was Ben whiskey with Molly. I think it was Ben that maybe gave me these. Maybe I'm wrong, Ben. And I know I was giving off about having to use my teeth to get the to get the top out of the bottle. Per me, yeah. So let's see what it is. It is. Oh, it's Bimber. Good Lord. There you are now. Well, I was right. It was Ben that gave me it. So at least, well, it says Ben Slater on the, it's Bimber X Bourbon Oak Cast, batch number 3, 51.6%. So I was pretty well off on that one. But I'm very well pleased with it. That's lovely. I've had other English whiskies. I've liked a lot of them. I'll not put English whiskey down by any means. That's the best one I've had yet. That's very good. Ex-bourbon oak. So that's young. Batch 3, 51.6%. I wouldn't have put the ABV that high. I wouldn't have put the ABV that high. That's 51. That's very, very easy to drink at 51.6%. Paul's saying try and get back to Isla for the festival in June. I would love to get over for the facial. We were looking at that boat. Now, part of the problem with it is it's so irregular when it sails. We said it was once this month it sailed, and I didn't even know about it until Richard Agnew, who's in here, brought it to my attention that he would like to have went to Isla while he was here, while he was home visiting again. And I looked into it, but they just didn't have the spaces whenever he was there, whenever he was over. But I just happened to notice that there was 3 spaces left for this month, so I booked one for myself and my wife. It was £90 a head. Now, in fairness, they were advertising it that the Ardbeg tour was part of it, so I thought that was a great price. Boat over, boat back. So that was return trip, and the Ardbeg tour I thought was great, but didn't happen. The tour wasn't part of it. As I said, I don't mind. I don't mind paying. I still, well, to say I still think, I know for a fact that £90 per head is still the cheapest way for us to get to Isla, because otherwise the alternative is boat to mainland Scotland and then boat over to Isla from Campbelltown. So much would that not cost for any of us? So, pardon me. Greg's saying we didn't stay on island. No, we didn't. We were literally there. We were on the island for 6 hours. And I actually said earlier it was a 10-hour trip. It was or an 8-hour trip. It was a 10-hour in total. 2 hours there, 6 hours on the island, 2 hours back. Apparently, there's one from Ballycastle to Campbelltown. For some reason, it doesn't seem to be running. And Connor Smith, you're right, Connor. It's the Kintyre Express, and the Kintyre Express hasn't run since COVID happened. So I've been waiting. But you could actually, the other thing that I've realized, or I looked more into, it's Aquaholics, the column that we sailed with, and you can actually charter a boat. Now, if we can get together, I think they hold up to 13. If we can get 13 of us together, you probably find it wouldn't cost much more than £100 to get to £100 a head to get to Campbelltown. Maybe I'm going to look into it. I'm going to ask the question. Take us over, leave us there, come back and get us, or do it with Isla. Take us over, leave us there, come back and get us. So I think that would be the way to do it, and especially where Isla's concerned. And I'm also hearing that Grace says, "Take my money now." I'm also hearing that where the likes of the fish ale's concerned, because my wife asked the question. No, it wasn't my wife. It was one of the guys with me, I think, asked the question. Where do you stay when the fish ale's on? And he was given the answer, you just pitch your tent wherever you like. And I love the sound of that. I'm not one for camping. As a matter of fact, I quite detest camping. But the thought of going over there for the fish eating and even spending 3 days over there and being able to do, there would need to be within people. I think people don't realize the size of Isla. It's not huge. Frank's in here. Frank knows this. It's not massive, but if you can picture, if I'm trying to think of the Isle of Man is a good example. It's bigger than the Isle of Man. And you have to remember that the shape of it and those distilleries are in sort of dotted, they're not, it's not, so Ardbeg, Lagavulin, and Lefroy are perfect. That they're just, you literally scoop down and they're all there. But when if you want to go to Bamore, you're away to the other side of the island. If you want to go to Kilhoman, away to the other side of the island, so you're looking at very, very strange places. And Helen and Andy and Frank, yet again, would be good ones to they'll know this. There's not a lot of transport on the island. There is a bus runs around, but as I said, I was hoping to meet up with Jimmy Jazz at least yesterday or on Saturday whenever we were there, and we planned, oh yeah, we'll do this and we'll do that. He was to be in Bamore for 2:30, for 2:30. We were there at, this was us around Lagavulin about 12, and with a plan that would maybe meet in Lagavulin around 12. And he said, I just can't get a taxi. There's nothing, there's no transport. So it just didn't happen. So you need to take all this into consideration. But I'll definitely go back. And I actually think I would prefer if the weather wasn't as good. Now, funny, I was there, as I say, we were there Saturday. I took a picture. I meant to actually queue them up for this tonight and didn't get the chance. I was late of getting organised. But we took a picture of Lagavulin on Saturday, and it was stunning, blue skies, green grass. Everything just looked bright, colourful, no filters required, sort of thing. And I noticed Rolf Ebhead had posted a picture on Sunday, almost identical. And this was why I wanted to queue these up. I wanted to put the two pictures side by side. And it looked like Lagavulin was sitting in a lake. That was the way I looked at it. It looked like as if it was floating almost. And that's just a few hours rain. So it can change very quickly. Frank's saying there are indeed buses running on island and certainly taxis. There are taxis, but the thing is just getting them. And so Jim was staying in Port Ellen. So if he's struggling to get taxis in Port Ellen, which is pretty much, as far as I can tell, one of the hubs of the island, well, then you're going to struggle anywhere. And Helen's saying that they're expensive, so I didn't realize that either. And I suppose really all they're doing is going around the outside, because I get the impression there's not an awful lot in the middle, and I would also get the impression that they won't drive through the middle. They probably, if it's anywhere, and I'm imagining the Isle of Man again, where the middle, if any of you know the Isle of Man, the roads through the middle of the island are all very, very much just dirt tracks, or not very accessible anyway by car. So I imagine Isla is pretty much the same. And Menno's saying e-bikes. Well, the other option is to take bikes, but it's quite you have quite the cycle on your hands, I would imagine, to get to Buna and Kalila, etc. So that's what's been happening. Quite happy the other night. I didn't get Lindor's, but I was sort of nailed it down to 46% natural, new distillery. Happy with that. Bimber threw me. But then these English distilleries, that's like tasting a good Japanese, in that, it's almost, you would nearly say, modeled on a good Scotch. And that Bimber, that's quality. I really like that. Cheers for that, man. And of course, Alan, and of course, Richard. Sorry, Richard, forgot your name there for a moment. So yeah, it's been an interesting. There is a road through. Well, there you are. Gav saying there is a road through the middle of Isla. Is it like, would it be an A road? But I wouldn't imagine it's an A road. I would think a B road at best, as we know here. Very good, Menno. Very good. Bit of M&M going on there. So Helm's quoted £125 to go from Killoman to Laga and back. Good Lord. You see, this is the thing. I imagine then the reason they do that is because they would go right round the outside of the island. Next time I'll be on Isla, be sure to come along and take your motor gear. Then I'll play taxi driver for you. Frank and Hellswood, you are there in September again, I believe. You know, it's one of these things. It's catered to people like us, isn't it? And I found myself saying to family members, etc. I'm going a bit hazy tonight. Don't worry about that. I found myself saying to family members and stuff, you know, I'm going to Isla. What the hell would you go to Isla for? Well, what do you think I would go to? And they don't know that it's a whiskey mecca. So, you know, it's sort of for us, Isla. I know that yet again, that sounds weird. Maybe I've said things tonight that sound just a bit silly and selfish, but I'm certainly sure people don't go there. I don't know. You know, it's not like football fanatics or and I'm going to Isla for a specific reason. So, you know, it's for us. It's definitely for us. So, and I would go back and do it slightly different. I said to Mrs Novice whenever we're coming back on Saturday, I said about sort of maybe doing it with the battalion next way or next time, but I don't know. I don't know what way. I would like to go over there with the Highland Battalion. I think Mrs Novice would like to go back again as well. I suppose she could come, couldn't she? Like, but then if I invite my wife, the rest of the wives are going to have to come. So you know, so it's just one of those things. I would definitely go back. I want to go to Campbelltown. Love to see Campbelltown. That's distillery tours, as I said. I would still like to do. That shelter point is quality. Thanks for that again, Richard. So look, yes, wrapping it up, it has been a busy old month or two. So it really has been a busy old month or two. And I'm sort of buggered, I'm knackered. The shop at the minute, I think if I wanted to be, I could be in it 7 days a week. And I just don't know whether I just don't think I want to be in it 7 days a week. So Hell saying, you know, certain whiskey lines as Mr. Duff, as we know him, yes, said you go for the first time, but you come back again for the and this is it. I would definitely go back. I would definitely go back. It was most enjoyable. It definitely felt like a holiday. Richard's saying the Girona Gold. The Girona Gold is a whiskey that we sell in the shop. It's it's basically one of the friend at hand. And as somebody else mentioned, I think it was Tony mentioned earlier on as well. And it's a nice whiskey. It's a 13-year-old Bushmills, 13 years in ex-bourbon casks and finished in ex-Oloroso sherry casks. And it is quite tasty. It's one it's quite popular for the simple reason that when people ask me which one of them I would buy, I always say the Girona Gold. Matthew saying go pop in. Yes. Oh, it's a wee sample of Cologne's new bottle. Nice. Thank you, Matthew. So look, yes, it's been a busy couple of months. My eyes are actually rolling here, sitting because I know for a fact what I'm gonna do now for at least 3 days this week is just give my liver a rest. I'm gonna stop drinking because it just feels like as if it's been a heavy couple of months. I've been talking about those 2 months like as if for a month, just over a month, I suppose, since the last time I was chatting to you here, I just feel like as if I've just been drinking all the time for one event or another. And something while I'm here, and I apologize to those who aren't, but any patrons that are in tonight, and I know there are a few in. Craig, one of my newest patrons, your coins will be in Hell's Wed, because the Helen in particular and Andy, I know you have been waiting maybe a few months now. I will, no later than the end of this month, I will get your coins off to you, because it's just been annoying me. But I just feel like as if I've had time for nothing. I didn't even mention the kitchen there. Anybody that knows what I'm talking about will say, but the kitchen all tied into that as well. But the kitchen is actually finished. All our decorating and all our remodeling of the kitchen is finally done, and we're well pleased with it. But it was just an add-on to everything, and now that that's finished, everything that wasn't getting done while all that was getting done, like everything around the outside of the house has gone to a mess. So it'll all have to start now and be like that as well. So, but you're not here to give a shit about that. That's just me. That's just me. Apologies for that. I always have to agree with some. So listen, thank you very much for joining me, because I actually have much bigger group in tonight than I expected to. So thank you, because I thought with what was going on in Isla, I thought with everything that was just, it's still holidays for a lot of people. So, and between work, etc. And Ben, Whiskey with Molly, is turning 44 tomorrow. Ben, happy birthday to you, buddy. Didn't realize you were that old, so there you are. Cheesemeister 66, I missed you earlier on. Thank you for popping in. A bit random, but you haven't got the lens cap for my camera. Cheesemeister 66, that's not... I'm going to ask a question here. Are you Stephen? Because if you are Stephen, then hello, Stephen, welcome. Just say yes, and then we'll maybe explain. I am Stephen. There we are. Well, Stephen was with us in Isla, so I'm glad I didn't say anything bad about you, Stephen. Stephen was one of the guys that was with a new friend, and it was an absolute pleasure to meet you, Stephen. It genuinely was, buddy. Stephen hung around with us, and we just great time had. So yeah, I'm gonna just I'm really rattling on, because I just, as I say, I'm tired, and when I get tired, I rattle on. This is me in the shop. If you get me first thing in the morning, whenever I've started in the shop, I rattle on because I'm still tired from the night before. Blather. So yes, make your way to Isla when you get the chance. I think everybody who's into their whiskey should at some point. You'll not be disappointed. And sorry, Stephen, I didn't find your lens cap. Sorry, buddy. I'm going to suggest it's probably lying about Ardbeg somewhere. Yeah, thank you for joining me, folks. As I say, it's a pleasure as always, and I'm going to have to go back. And that's the other thing I wanted to apologize for, was anybody that views my videos. I generally reply to all comments on my videos, and that's something else that has gone lacking an awful lot recently, because I've just been so busy. But I will get caught up again. I believe me, I will get caught up again. So look, enough's enough. Stop talking, Jim. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. It was great to be back with you again. It really was. I'll be back in September. I'll be getting a bit of things will start to slacken off a bit again in September for me. I know they will. So until then, thank you very kindly. Look after yourselves. Thank you, guys, for anybody that sent me samples. Always appreciate it. I'll speak to you all soon. Here's to your good health. Cheers.